first the first item on tonight's agenda is the consent agenda. It's a group of items to be acted upon with a single motion and vote. It's designed to expedite regular routine matters of council. I will ask if a citizen or a council member wishes to have any specific item removed from the consent agenda for discussion, and at that time, either a member of the audience or a council member may request that an item be removed prior to council's vote. The items on tonight's consent agenda include approval of the work session and regular meeting minutes of November the 12th, 2019, approval of expenditure vouchers of November the 26th, 2019, approval of a special events permit for the Cortez Area Chamber of Commerce to host business after hours Thursday, December the 12th at the Dolores State Bank. And finally, approval of a renewal hotel and restaurant liquor license for Lakeside Inns. For Lakeside Lanes. At this time, is there any item on the consent agenda that anybody would like to have reserved? In that case, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented with the extra expenditures of $17,395.59.
Second. I second it.
Thank you. Keel?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Betts? Aye. Sheik?
Aye. We have no presentations tonight. At this time, if there is a citizen in the audience that would like to address council, you may step forward to one of the podiums. Be sure that the green light is on. State your name and address.
Okay, my name's Terry Himes. I am the general manager at Farmers Telephone, doing business on the city fiber network. I wanted to approach you guys. We've been, most of our employees, live and work and spend their money in the city. We have a couple of, I got a new contract revision from John, and I wanted to kind of discuss and ask you to vote no on bringing that forward. Okay, so I prepared this. I arrived in Cortez in December, found the RFP for the city fiber network. Upon the selection for ALLO, I initiated a meeting with John Doherty where we discussed the fiber network and the desire for the network to remain open access. John agreed it would be open access, as did a subsequent call to Karen. She assured me that it was going to be open access, that that's what they had done. Later, there was a second meeting that Karen actually called, and John, Rick, and James, and one of our other directors was at that meeting. And basically, the city kind of went back on their honor of the open access network. They basically said, no, we can't guarantee that it'll be an open access. Well, I kind of have a question as to, if you're driving the bus and it's your fiber network, why couldn't you do that? Why couldn't you demand that with your negotiations with ALLO Communications? So later I was sent an email from John, or a letter from John dated September 16th, 2019. And I do have for the city council, pass these out? If we could pass this out to the city council. A copy of that letter is in there. And by the way, this is Rodney, if you guys don't know him already. And basically it says the city was going to modify our current agreement, taking us not only from a long-term agreement to a month-to-month. Okay, I can't tell you on telecommunications how important it is to have a longer-term agreement. We have customers out there, our businesses, that are on our system. The scope of what we do is a long-term agreement with our customers. And the city coming back with a month-to-month really didn't make any sense to me. Why would you do that? Okay. So this was supposed to happen as of January 2020. Basically, it was charging farmers a flat fee of $35 for a T1 service, or wholesale 30% of our revenue, which is a pretty big chunk. I mean, when you think about the revenue in your business, would you give up 30%? I think your answer would probably be no. They also proposed that they were going to initiate a $15 fee, flat fee, for voice lines over our service, which rides in the data stream, which we're already giving you 30% of. So kind of double dipping there. And his letter said the service provider may either accept the renewal terms with the new proposed provision or terminate agreement with the city at the end of our term. Now, I got to tell you, you know, that sounds more like gangster talk than, you know, a city that is sitting there that's supposed to be representing our businesses and our community. And it's not just farmers, it's all of our customers. And we do have the lion's share of the businesses in this town. So let me give you an example. So I have a customer that took a 13 meg data service from us.
Sir, I'm really sorry. We have times for the public to comment. I don't know if the mayor wants to authorize him to continue. Sorry.
Are you about to finish, Terry?
Yeah, I've got about 5 minutes or 3 or 4 minutes more that I can go through this.
Why don't you quickly finish up, and then there'll be some opportunity to, when we come to that portion of the agenda, where we can kind of respond to some of your concerns.
Okay.
Okay.
Will I be able to come back up?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So let me give you an example. So I have a customer that has 13 meg service. My price point is $45. 30% of that revenue goes to the city, $13.50. Let's say they have 2 business lines, and at $15 each business line, that comes up to an additional $30. So at this point, the city is charging me 96% of my revenue for that one customer if this goes into if you guys vote yes on this. That's hardly a fair option for me and my customers. I'll give you one other example. The city, you guys pay me about $450 for your voice services, and when I assess that fee back to you, you're going to pay another $150. Or, I guess in John's, you know, terminology, you can take it or leave it. And I'm not that guy. I'm just not that guy. I don't treat people like that, and I don't expect to be treated like that as well, especially from a city that supports, you know, their customers, our customers, and us. I'm part of this community as well. I did forget my address. I'm at 2715 Golf Course Drive here in Cortez.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So with that said, there was a couple other things that I sent you guys all a letter, and Karen responded to me with that as well. In your packet, you'll notice there is an email at the end from another carrier that was told that basically because of the embezzlement at the city, that we had
Terry,
to raise the rates.
Terry, let me stop you right there. I told you this when I responded with my email after your initial email. The embezzlement has nothing to do with this, and so let's not. I have to say, Karen, if it wasn't, No,
then why are your employees saying that?
Well, if we have city employees that are saying that, they are misinformed because
You have an
these-
email from
Stop.
another company
I-
that was told the same
Well,
thing.
I can't account for that. I can simply tell you that the setting of these new fees has nothing at all to do with the embezzlement, and everything to do with us charging what it is costing us to provide the service. I did explain that to you in the email that I sent, and I think that when Rick has the opportunity, he will reiterate that as well. So I'm just asking that you not use this as a platform to share disinformation that is not factual.
Well, if it was told to me, then it's
Well,
really not
but, you know, just
disinformation.
because you heard it from somebody doesn't make it true. So
Fair
there are
enough.
lots of folks out there that are disseminating information that's not factual, so. Okay, well, we'll be coming up to discussion of that fee shortly, and at that time, if you have an additional question.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, the next section is public hearings. Ordinance number 1271, Series 2019, is the final reading, appropriating 2020 expenditures and setting the mill levy. Ben?
Yep, good evening, council. What we have is our second reading of the budget that was proposed at the last reading, and the details are all there with the general fund with a 12.2 million of proposed expenditures, and then the various funds there, with a total expenditures of 30.1 million for the city in totality, along with the mill levy being set at the lower of the calculations at 1.29. So we're moving to approve on the final reading of this ordinance is what we're asking for.
At this time, council, are there any council members that have questions?
Yeah, I have a few questions. But what we're doing here, we're still going outside for payroll and HR? The budget hasn't changed? I was going to say, I guess you said heartburn? That I have heartburn or something? But where I see is, I'd like to still keep everything in-house. And that's, I mean, I'm just one council person. But I'd like to see everything keep in-house and also, the reason I like to keep it in-house, because we've advertised, let's shop Cortez and keep everything local. And I'd like to keep everything in-house, and we have to hire somebody else to do it. But I still think, that's my opinion on the payroll and HR. I don't believe in the subbing out. And also on the other thing that I had in here was too that, I guess the assistant city manager is still on.
What was that?
No, that was removed.
The assistant to the city manager.
The assistant city manager. I was just wondering if that was still in the budget.
I was going to say, I think that was pulled.
That's the other one I had. But that's my opinion on the keeping everything in-house. So that's all the questions, my comments I had. No answers.
Is there anybody else?
Well, I'd like to say that I'd like to keep our money here in Montezuma County too, and not put so much of it out somewhere else. And like with the, doing the time clocks and stuff, somebody else is going to be reading them somewhere, so we're creating a job somewhere besides Montezuma County for them to be working. And I want the jobs that we have to stay in Montezuma County. That's my feelings. And there again, I'm just one.
The truth is that there are a number of jobs that we contract out to people who are outside of Montezuma County because they have the expertise to be able to do that. And I understand what you're saying, both you and Orly. I think it's important for us to be able to buy as much local as we can and to keep as much money as we can within our city if possible. But I also realize that there are sometimes too when we don't have the expertise to be able to do that. And at those times, then I think probably it's better to go out and get that expertise rather than not doing the kind of job that maybe we need to do. For example, there are often times when we have contractors for big jobs that come outside of this area because they have the expertise. They're able to bid it in such a way that it saves us money to be able to hire them. So I'm just raising that as an example of other ways that we do contract work out. Any other comments, questions?
You know, most of my questions were answered last time, and I appreciate every single person that works in this city and their due diligence and their work ethic and how hard they go about doing the right thing and trying to keep in mind the greatest good for the greatest number, so on and so forth. As far as the budget is concerned, I'm very pleased with almost every single aspect of it, except those couple things that, along with Councilman Lucero and Councilwoman Betts, that keep me from feeling really good about it. I don't want that to ever be a sore spot or to people to think that I'm displeased with the vast majority of what I've heard so far. It's just a couple of little things, and I think I reiterated that last time enough. And so, yeah, I just thought that would be important for me to say.
Next time. Any other comments? Then may I have a motion, please? I'm sorry, what?
Public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jeez. At this time, I would like to open the floor up to a public hearing. If there's anybody that would like to speak for or against this, if you'd please step to the microphone.
Hello. My name is Neva Conley. I live at 28264 Road P, Dolores 81323. For the past 4 years, I've been employed by the city as an associate planner. I'm speaking tonight with my own personal opinion on a couple aspects of the budget. First, I'd like to extend my thanks and appreciation to management and council to continue to fund the employee wellness program. The benefits of the wellness programs are well studied and are proven beneficial to both employer and employee. The city employees who do participate in this program do see it as a definite perk, and so we thank you for your support on that. Second, I'd like to express my misgivings with the proposed human capital management system that's been proposed in the budget. The proposed benefits of the HCM do not seem to pencil out for a small-scale city government like ours. For instance, we have a bare-bones IT staff, and our integrated computer system has issues on an almost daily basis. Can our IT system handle a new program without massive and expensive upgrades? There's also the fact that HR functions would be outsourced, seemingly unnecessary in a city that has probably less than 20 new hires a year and only 100 or so employees. If it's a matter of training and updating staff forms and procedures, surely that can be done at far less of an expense than the cost of a new HCM system. As for us employees, we are a small city and we are not cogs in a machine, nor is there any reason to act as though we are. I've seen no indication that our supervisors and directors need oversight and assistance with their employees and their time management. Again, if timesheets are not being filled out correctly, or if time theft is truly an issue, specific training and intervention is a more appropriate way to handle what is likely not a widespread citywide problem. When the RFP and council approval for this HCM come up in the near future, I ask you to please do your own research and decide if spending funds outside of this city and outsourcing any function of this city is worth further undervaluing your employees. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would care to speak? Yes, Jim.
Here, I'll pass it down. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jim Reeser. I live at 953 Livesay Drive, Cortez, Colorado. I publish the Cortez Coffee Break. I serve on the in the officer positions for Rotary Club in Cortez, and I'm also on the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce. In the last year, the city of Cortez has been a member of the Chamber of Commerce, though sometime during your budget preparation period, when you were looking at a possible shortfall, the city removed the membership dues from your budget for the Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $1,500. I'm here to ask you to replace that into your budget again for 2020. The document you have there is a list of the benefits that the city of Cortez receives in exchange for their membership. You are in the category of what we call Platinum Premier benefits. So aside from things like being in the directory that the Chamber publishes online, and besides being involved in the relocation guide and being involved in business after hours, power breakfast, some of the other kinds of things, the items on the back below the midpoint of that page are ones you're also eligible to receive. And if you'd like to take a look at any of that, we'll be happy to go over it for you and explain what each of those means. The traveling banner is one of those retractable banners that will appear at all of our activities next year. Assuming we don't have wind or snow or some other thing that would prevent us from being able to keep that in good shape. They're not terribly expensive, but they're not free. So let's see, full page in the company directory profile. You've got that as a member at that level. And your logo belongs on our website and other publications that we make. May I answer any questions that you might have?
How many members do you have, Jim, now at the Chamber?
We claim about 214 right now.
Okay.
That's up from about 175 a year ago.
That's good.
We have a very strong priority of increasing that number. In the past, maybe 10 years ago, we were at our peak at somewhere near 425 members. So I think we see that as a pretty high bar to get back up to.
Great.
Okay.
And of course, we are trying to staff up for a full-time, year-round manager. And by mid-next year, a half-time staff person paid. And by the end of the following year, we hope to have two of those positions be full-time, year-round.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Okay.
Okay.
Great, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Jim.
Thank you.
Just as a point of order, John, what would we need to do? We need to have a motion to reinstate that $1,500?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Tonight or in 2 weeks?
It needs to be tonight because the budget's being approved tonight.
Well, I know the budget's being approved tonight,
But
but
this is part of the
can't.
budget.
What would it fall under?
Under what heading will this fall?
Just direct us to put $1,600 in for the chamber.
16 or
I thought it was
15?
15.
Well, but how much are our dues? 15.
1,500? Okay.
You want to change that to 15,000?
Yeah.
Could you reiterate how many members you have currently in the chamber?
214.
I asked our chamber manager that question earlier this week. She said 214 at this time. We've got quite a few who are just about to come back in because it's past their annual.
Sorry, Jim.
No, that's okay. That was enough.
That's fine. So 214 members paid up all the way now. We have some who are a little bit past due, and we expect that to push us up to around 225. And then we have a lot of people who are in the prospect category with our major effort in the first part of the year. We have a lot of people businesses and organizations who belong on who pay on an annual basis. January is probably our biggest month for that. So by the end of January, we'll have a much stronger feel for exactly how many members we have.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. In that case, may I have a motion? I'm sorry, what?
We need to close public hearing.
Oh. Is there anybody else that would like to speak for or against? Okay, in that case, I'll close the public hearing.
We have two things we need to motion on, is that correct?
One on the first one, we need to I'm assuming the first motion would be whether or not to reinstate the $1,500 membership fee and then after that would be the motion to approve the budget.
Correct.
So,
Okay.
okay. So may I have a motion on whether or not to reinstate a $1,500 to cover membership and the Cortez Chamber of Commerce?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to reinstate the $1,500 for the Chamber of Commerce funds from the City of Cortez.
I second that.
Betts. Aye. Carlson.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Lucero.
Nay.
Noyes.
Nay.
Levy.
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. All right, then the second motion is a motion to approve on second reading the budget for 2020.
I make a motion that we approve the final reading ordinance number 1271, Series 2019, appropriating 2020 expenditures and setting the mill levy.
Second.
Carlson.
Aye.
Keel.
Nay.
Betts. Nay. Lucero.
Nay.
Noyes.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye.
Passes 4-3.
All right, the next item is under new business. We have no unfinished business, so moving on to new business is the amendment to Jacobs Engineering contract. Russ.
Good evening, Council. I think we mentioned this at our budget meeting, that the bids came in too high, well above the available funding for our taxiway shoulder project this past summer. So the FAA has directed us to rebid that, and in order to repackage everything and advertise and so forth, all that's involved in that, and also adding in some small design changes that they wanted made, it's going to cost extra engineering fees to the tune of $31,047. The fiscal impact to the airport, because we're only matching at 2.5%, is $776. So we will have some extra funding available from the FAA next year to bolster the funding we already have in place. So we're hoping bidding in January will have a better result. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions about that? Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve the contract amendment to the Jacobs Engineering contract for additional fees to rebid for construction of the airport taxi shoulders in the amount of $31,047.
Second.
Noyes?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Betts? Levy?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Cheek?
Aye. Thanks, Russ. All right, the next item is to cancel the December 24th council meeting. Does anybody disagree with that?
I don't
Since it's
know.
on the 24th?
Orly?
I have objections.
Would you like to meet?
I would. This is
Okay.
my last chance I
Well,
get
then
to
in
say no
that
to.
case, make a motion. And then we'll.
You can make a symbolic
I'm
no vote.
joking.
Does anybody have any questions?
No.
I don't, have
Well,
we
is
ever
this
even,
gonna
I'm
fit?
not sure, have we ever had two
Is
meetings
this
in
gonna-
December?
Yeah.
Did we? Okay.
Is this going to affect the budget any?
Huh?
Is this going to affect the budget any?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
going to
gonna-
decrease our electric costs.
Okay.
It's gonna save the amount they trade you in that second meeting.
Oh, you're a peak.
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to cancel the second meeting on the fourth Tuesday in December, which I believe falls on Christmas Eve.
I think you're,
Second.
what day's Christmas?
Betts? Aye. Noyes? Aye. Lucero?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Cheek?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item is resolution number HE 2019-1, Series 2019, that has to do with approving the annual budget for the Enterprise Cortez Hydroelectric Power Plant. Ben?
Correct. Because the hydro is a enterprise, we got to treat it like a business. There's a separate ordinance, 1271, Series 2019, which basically says we have to every year readdress and pass the expenditures and appropriations and the budget as such. You've already seen a lot of the budgets for this resolution plus the others. It's just laid out here again at $144,000 of total expenditures.
Out of curiosity, about once every 2 years, I remember to ask where we're at with repayment on the hydroelectric plant. Is that just a unicorn? It's quite a ways out. Am I
Yes, it
correct?
is. It's
Okay.
quite a ways out, yeah.
Any other questions, council?
No, I have none.
May I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion approving resolution number HE 2019-1, Series 2019, approving the annual budget for the City of Cortez Hydroelectric Power Enterprise for the year 2020.
Second.
Carlson?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Betts? Cheek?
Aye. The next item is resolution number WE-2019-1, Series 2019, which has to do with the Cortez Water Enterprise Fund for 2020. Ben?
Yep, same story here. The water enterprise budget of a total of $3.476 million. And there's the breakouts there, and we've talked about that in detail as well. I should state for these enterprises, their fees and resolutions for the fees are coming later.
Any questions?
Yeah, so this budget is, rests on the shoulders of the fee increase?
The revenues do. So it's based off of the associated revenues.
Any other questions? May I have a motion? Did you have a question?
I did not.
May I have a motion?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number WE-2019-1, Series 2019, approving the annual budget for the City of Cortez Water Enterprise for the year 2020.
I second that.
Levy?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Lucero?
Nay.
Betts? Noyes?
Nay.
Sheik?
Aye. All right. We are now moving on to Resolution Number 26, Series 2019, approval of fees and charges for public works services and materials provided by the City of Cortez. Ben?
We missed one, Karen.
You missed.
Did we miss one? Oh, I'm sorry.
7E.
It's Resolution 33, Series 2019, which is approving the annual budget for the Cortez Community Network.
Correct.
Ben?
Yep, so this is a, one we have not done in the past for an enterprise, but it should be, so we're just, crossing our Ts, dotting our Is here. CCN is an enterprise, is treated as such, so hence it's here. Again, we're talking about the total expenditures there, 458,000, excuse me, and the details were in the budget that's previously provided.
Rick, because this is something new that we have not done in the past, would you kind of give us a little bit of a background on this and how staff came up with the attendant fees and charges for this particular service?
Yes, Honorable Mayor and City Council, the process of upgrading the fees for the Cortez Community Network actually started in October of 2018 during the budget hearings. And if you might recall, some of you were here at that time, the issue was that the fiber network was not covering its costs. And we had a discussion needing to bring the business model 1.0 up to a new 2.0. The current agreement that we have with all the service providers is a non-exclusive service agreement that started in 2011, and the city has not updated those costs during that time, since that time. So, of course, going into this year's budget, it was real apparent that we needed to right the ship and start covering the cost of running the network. The model of the original service agreement was based on a model out of Utah at Utopia, and it was a tiered model based on the amount of bandwidth purchased was what the charges were based on. The proposed fee schedule does have some new items in it that we were not charging for before, mostly in the co-location area and on the roof rent for the wireless providers. We've gotten mixed pros and cons about the charges, but basically it doesn't cost the city anymore to transport a 14 meg pipe as it does a gigabit pipe. So clearly we're in the transport business as far as the network goes, and most open access type networks today operate on a flat fee for service. As a point of clarification, the service agreement, most of the changes happen under Exhibit B, and to make a little bit clearer, that is on a port fee for the phones, so it'd be $15 for a port. Now in that port, you can put 1 to, say, 1,000 phone lines on it, and it would still only be the $15 charge in the proposed amount. Also, the current service agreement, Article 2, required that we notify the service providers on an annual basis if we intended to make any changes, and that had to be done in September. Hence, we sent out the letter to all the service providers. I received 3 phone calls back once they received it. From Farmers Telephone was one, Fast Track was another, and Zumacom was the third. And on all three of those, I explained the situation that the city was under, that we needed to right the ship. And based on that, pretty positive. In fact, two of the three liked the idea of going to just a flat fee charge, and they said that it would allow them to sell more customers on our network. We've had several meetings this summer. James was there, just got over his back surgery, and it's been explained several times to all of them that we need to go from business model 1.0 to 2.0. And as Ben mentioned, the revenues proposed out of this fee schedule is included in the new budget. This is a non-exclusive agreement, so we need to treat all service providers the same.
The charges for the phone, because you said the phone and the rack charges are new charges, correct?
The old agreement that we're currently still under, it says in there that you can have a port for the voice, and we haven't been charging for that. It was never charged before.
Are there costs attendant to providing that service, wiring or other equipment costs?
It depends on the type phone service, and you can do VoIP over the bandwidth part of it, and some of them, they want the dial tone to come through the others. That's where we've come into conflict, is if we have one provider over here doing one service and a provider B doing the voice service. So in essence, we have two services at that same address. That's where we've had a little bit of issues dealing with that.
But I guess what I'm asking is there a cost to the city to do that?
Yes, it's another transport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yep.
So, kind of Telecom 101, when you apply your voice over your data stream, the city has no idea. It doesn't cost them any extra. In fact, you're already billing me 30% for that. So when we do our voice over IP, which is our service because we have an IP switch, that's the only way we can do it, is that way. With that said, you know, I provisioned on the platform that you guys bought. I've used that platform for probably over 11, 12, 13 years. And that is exactly what happened. It's oblivious to you guys. There was one other thing that was in there that I do want to point out. Mr. Green, do you know what CP&I is? So it's customer private network information. One of the things that John outlined in his requirement is they do an audit of our customers' records. Okay, in telecom, that's illegal. So what he's asking me to do is break the law. Sarbanes-Oxley came out, I guess, 25 years ago. And what they came up with, as far as the customer, private network is we have these customer service reps, which you guys have. You take money in and out, and there's the way to handle that, and to make sure that that customer's private information isn't shared with anybody without express written permission from the customer. So he's written this contract where I really can't, by law, do that.
Mike, are you familiar with the contract?
What, to some degree?
Mike.
To some degree.
Microphone.
To some degree I am, to some degree I'm not. There would need to be some sort of an audit to make sure that, I don't know that it has to go to the depth that he's talking about, customer private information. It could be just accounts, some
just
sort
numbers.
of showing what their revenue is or what number of accounts. So I can't say what that his representations that it's totally illegal are true without more research. I can't remember who prepared this contract, Rick?
Not John, right?
The current one?
Yes.
The revision. Revision's 1.7 in the contract here.
The current contract that we have with all the service providers was developed back in 2011, modeled after the Utopia program.
And was this the one where Eric Cecil helped us with it?
No, sir. It's older than that.
Pardon?
It's older than that.
Okay, would this be a Feldman?
Pardon me?
Would this be Ken Feldman?
No, it goes way back. I couldn't tell you. 2011.
Okay.
Well, and I want to touch on that, Karen. So if we order a service and we have to open up a port for the voice side, you would already know about it, so you wouldn't have to audit my financial or my customers' revenue records. So again, what they're trying to do is capture what's encapsulated in the data that you're already charging me 30%. With that said, I strongly urge you guys to turn this down and send them back to do their homework and come up with something that works, because this clearly does not.
Rick, in making this proposal, how did you arrive at the at the particular charges in order to be able to cover costs? One thing you need to understand, Terry, is that we have to be able to cover the costs for the services that we're providing, and the city hasn't done that for a number of years, much to our chagrin. It was really highlighted for us again. I think Rick said in 2018 that the community network is not paying for itself. We are basically subsidizing all of the ISPs that are on that service.
Well,
and,
Karen.
And just a minute. And as Rick has said, in order to right the ship so that we're not making money on it, but we're covering our costs, they've come up with a plan to be able to do that. So, Rick, can you provide us with some background information as to how that was done and why you're including some additional fees into this that you haven't covered in the past?
Sure. This started again last fall during that budget process, and shortly after that, what we did, we took what's traditionally been costing us for operations, and we took a look. I think I ran about 8 different options to try to get to where the revenue was balanced with the operational costs. And the $35 flat fee basically keeps the city and the revenue coming in is basically flat for the fiber to the business part of the business of the network. So some of the circuits that were higher bandwidth, where we were collecting 30% of the whole amount, those costs to the providers will go down. So it actually encourages the providers to sell bigger pipes, because we're only going to be charging $35. Could be for a gig, could be for whatever. So we looked at what our costs were and met with John a couple times, and we went over all the different options. And this is what we kind of settled in on as far as the fiber to the business cost.
If I could throw something in that's even more basic, we created CCN as an enterprise by ordinance. Enterprises by definition are supposed to cash flow. So it's basically the revenue is supposed to cover the costs. That's all Mr. Smith is trying to do is, work towards covering his costs. We've transferred money, loans, I believe it is, from other
I think from the rec center account at one time. Haven't some of the funds come from the rec center to cover this?
What I'm trying to say, ma'am, is that we've transferred money from other funds in the city, don't want to call them accounts, but there was places where there was extra money that we lent to CCN. And so that can't go on forever, and it's time to stop. CCN has got to cover its own costs with its own revenue.
You know, I don't want to give you guys the wrong impression. I feel for you, I really do. I'm an expert in this field. I've built networks from Florida to Hawaii and back again 3 times. With that said, I understand what it takes to run a telephone company or a data company, which telephone companies really are. And with that said, when I look at the build that happened here, they didn't follow you know, when you and I sat down and talked, you said you wanted affordable internet to kids so they can do their homework. You didn't go to the, you know, you didn't get out there and go and build out in the residential neighborhood. In fact, a lot of it is built kind of out in the middle of nowhere, where you put your plant service center or your service center. It's miles away from where you need to be. So you built all that and spent all that money needlessly. That hub should be right here. If you want to service the city of Cortez, you don't put it at the outskirts of the city, you put it in the middle, where when you build, it's a lot cheaper to get out there to get to your customers. I don't think I should be on the hook for poor planning. I really don't. With that said, I'm your biggest customer on there. You get $36,000 a year from it, $34,800 a year from us. I think we're paying our fair share. And with the voice services, Rick's tried to get that in there a long time, and we have talked to it to ad nauseum. I'm a business. We've been here for 99 years in Montezuma County, and we've supported this city. When I look at this contract, from my perspective, this is my company. This is his company, and that's his company. We're proud of it, and we're doing a really good job. We have a great reputation in this community, but you're going to make it to where it's so expensive that I can't do business here with your fees for the voice that you're already charging me for, because it's part of the data stream. I ask you to turn that down and tell them to do more due diligence. Because if I went out and audited where he's built, in my job, if I went out and took my boss out there, I'd be out of a job tomorrow. Because he'd say, why did you build out here? You cows need internet? You know, that's what they would say. I can tell you. I've had to approve budgets, and I have had to run a lean organization for a long time, because I've never been able to afford any more people. But what I had to do is I had to get smart. I had to build it right. I had to build it with some sense. When I look at the way this thing was set up, I have to ask, the only thing you got right was right down Main Street. That's the only part of it that you got right. You spent a lot of money for no returns, and you've got to look at that when you do your bill.
Okay, well, the truth is at this point, Terry, we've got a staff member who has looked over the system, has determined what it's costing to be able to operate and what we have to have coming in order for it to pay for itself. And whether you agree with what he has to say or not, my inclination is that he's probably a lot more knowledgeable about what it's costing the city than you are, even with your professional background in telecommunications.
Well, I beg to differ, because I would have made severely different choices.
Okay, well, the choices that were made are made, and so under the circumstances, the infrastructure is in place, and we have to live with that. So I know as a business person that having been in business for a number of years, that it's very difficult when you have overhead that goes up, but that sadly is the cost of doing business. And in our case, as I stated in the email that I sent you the other day, we have to be able to pay for this. It's the funds have got to balance, and so consequently we have to look at it from that perspective. And I know that you would like to characterize this as a hostile take it or leave it. I don't think it was intended to be disrespectful or
Karen, how would you have
dismissive. It
taken
was
that letter?
simply that this is what we have to charge in order to make this system work.
I'll be honest.
You've had your 8 minutes now, and so you need to sit down, please.
I have one other thing. If I had done that to you, how would you have reacted?
I can tell you, that's a pretty standard boilerplate contract that I see in a lot of contracts. It's not a provision that was drafted by John Doherty at all. It's a standard legal term that's sometimes seen in contracts to give you the opportunity to decline what we're offering. That, I wouldn't have interpreted it as take it or leave it, and I'm sad that you took it that way, especially thinking that John directed it to you, because I can tell you he didn't. He was passing along the contract that we asked him to pass along, and that's standard language, and I think Mr. Green would probably agree with me.
I have done
Hold on,
countless
I'm not
contracts,
finished speaking.
and I have never seen that.
Okay, well, and I have,
Countless.
as an attorney, I have. That's why I'm saying I wouldn't have interpreted it the way, and like I said, I'm sorry that you did, and I'm glad you addressed that, so that we could address it on the record and say, that was not the intention. It's to give you, as an existing partner, an out if you don't want to take up the terms of the contract as we reset and renegotiate our business practices and our needs moving forward. We don't want you to feel like you're coerced into remaining with us as we change our terms. So I understand why you took it the way you did, and I hope you understand with my explanation how it was not intended that way. And it certainly didn't come from Mr. Doherty personally. So just to address that concern, I don't think you should probably be feeling frustrated with him. He's acting in our direction.
Thank you, Terry. At this time, are there any other questions or comments?
Yes, I have two. 2020-2019 budget percent change says for charges and services, negative 56%? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's down from the 255,000 the prior year. So it's going from 255,000 this year was the budget to the budget next year of 113,000.
Well, with these increases, wouldn't, that we're going to have to charge, wouldn't we see an increase to that, services and charges?
You'll have to, for more of the detail, you have to look back to that, but the budget book that we had, right? And in the budget book, you have the summary of revenues and expenditures, and you have the revenues, right? This is a snapshot of those expenditures. So the charges and services is expenditures, not revenues.
Okay.
The revenues are separate. This is just more of the expenditures only. So a lesson learned for next year, I'll make sure I have the full picture here for you, because we're referencing that overall budget book that we have.
And could you also describe the intergovernmental increase of roughly 1,350%?
Yes, so that, as we discussed at the budget workshops, is the general fund is charging other funds for services, such as for HR, finance reporting, accounting, payroll, those types of services. So this was that large increase here is due to primarily that cross-allocation of charges out of the general fund.
It's part of that process to determine exactly what it's costing in order to be able to provide a service or to complete a project.
So in years past, by not having these costs in here, you're not getting a full view of what it is cost to run, let's say, the CCN enterprise as a business. You don't have payroll cost in there. You do now. You didn't have like financial reporting or accounting. You do now.
My final question, I think, would be to Attorney Green. We didn't really get an answer on 1.7 that Mr. Hines referred to as to whether it was legal or illegal. We're kind of in a gray area there. I didn't feel like we had any resolution on that.
I think it's a legal term to the contract. Everybody signed it. Everybody had a chance to negotiate it, take it in, leave it out, or leave it in, take it out. The contract was signed, it's there. I don't think it's illegal.
But you don't know for sure?
The way I read it, like I say, it's a legal, agreed-upon term in a commercial contract, and so I believe it is legal.
I'm posing that question because I'd like to avoid.
I say it's the
legal
customer
issues,
proprietary network information, and it generally provides provisions regarding telecom agencies providing customer information to third-party marketers. I don't think that we would qualify as a third-party marketer. This is selling customer
What's
listings.
CP&I handle?
Customer proprietary network information.
And when I go back to talking about an audit, I don't know that we've ever done any, so I don't know what they would look like, but I don't think we need to go in and get customer information. We just need to verify revenue.
We just need numbers.
We need numbers and some way to verify them. I don't believe we need to go in and see that Mike Green has an account with Farmers and that he uses it 37 minutes a day and that he's whatever. But we would need to see that there was $35 a month, for example, collected on an account.
From a customer.
From a customer. That's the audit I envisioned when I read this. I did not audit any kind of detail down to, that's not how we do things. I think the nearest example would be the library. We don't look at, people's personal information when there's a book overdue. We wouldn't be doing that in this situation to see.
May I offer a clarification? During the process of setting up a customer or changing service, the city is provisioning the circuit, call it a circuit, between the service center and the service provider to the ONT at the person's house. So at that time, all the service providers tell us what size of bandwidth to provision and the services in it, as well as the address. So I just wanted to make that clear. That's just part of turning up the service for the customer.
So my question is, why can't we just strike that? Because you know what we're charging, and we provision it. And Rick is right on that part. We tell you we want 13 meg. He gives me a 13 meg pipe, I can't go over it. So the equipment will not allow it.
The Calix system, you're able to provision whatever size pipe the service provider wants, basically. They want 13, they want 50, they want 100. You set the limit there in the provisioning service.
So basically, all you really need to know is just X number of customers on that a particular ISP is servicing.
Well, the database in the Calix would know that it's a farmer's customer at such and such address and the size of the pipe.
So we know that already then.
Yes, so that's part of turning up the circuit.
So that's not, so we're not looking at anything different than what we've already done in the past.
No, that has to be done just by the way of provisioning, doing the service.
All right. So that's business as usual from what we've done for years.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
I have none.
No, Ty, that's what I was thinking about.
Okay.
Thank you.
May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion, we approve the resolution number 33, Series 2019, approving the annual budget for the Cortez Community Network Enterprise for the year 2020.
Second.
Carlson?
Aye.
Noyes?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Keel?
Nay.
Betts? Lucero?
Nay.
Sheik?
Aye.
Passes.
All right. Resolution number 26, Series 2019, is approving the fees and charges for public works services and materials provided by the City of Cortez. Thanks, Rick. Ben?
Yeah, so just to give you a preface, all the remainder here are resolutions relating to fees and charges for the various departments for efficiency of time and partly because people are out already for vacation, so good on them. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I'm just facilitating a lot of these conversations. I'll try to answer, if there are any questions, the best that I can, and guide you through maybe what some pops out, like maybe changes or whatnot. So just wanted to make it clear. Some people, we do have a couple of individuals who are here if there are more detailed questions. So this first one is around Public Works. You have a list of the fees there on the next page, and really the only thing that is changing from prior year is the chipping, which is increasing from $40 to $50 for the first 20 minutes. Then you have your other fees there on the next page, which everything is just the same as last year. There's a little, in the discussion there's a little context on kind of like drive time setup for each job, and how and costs associated to such.
Are there any questions about that, council? So this is under Public Works, and it's just that, that's the only change, it's just that.
This is just, yes, it's just Public Works, and it's just that one change there.
Okay.
I remember seeing it on the second page there.
Questions?
I have none.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 26, series 2019, approving fees and charges for public works services and materials provided by the city of Cortez.
Second?
Lucero,
Nay.
Carlson,
Aye.
Keel,
Aye.
Betts, Noyes,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. All right, the next item is Resolution number 28, Series 2019, establishing refuse collection rates for the city of Cortez.
If I may go back one more resolution to 27 to the planning and building.
I am confusing myself. I shouldn't be marking ahead of time. Yes. We're going back to the planning and building department and the changes in materials for that department costs.
Correct.
Ben.
So we're on the planning and building here. Again, as just everybody here, the fees are intended to cover expenses. There are a couple changes in costs here. First, you'll see the administrative cost for research. That's $30 per hour. That's actually down from $50 per hour. And I think they're just trying to be in line with the open records requests fees that are charged. The next one there is the land dedication. It's 5% cash in lieu retirement. That's $14,500 per acre, which is down $500 from $15,000. That was put towards the Planning and Zoning Commission at their meeting October 21st, 2019, with their recommendation. And then you have a list of permits there for roof, fence, siding, residential deck, non-habitable portable structure, foundation only, demolition, and RV home setup inspections. That's $75, which is up from $40, so that is an increase there. Primary component there is the previous fees really didn't cover the staff time. So again, I think they're just trying to, the intention is to cover expenses. Then there's a stop work order conduct without permit. This is a new fee of $250, and the thought is to penalize those contractors or residents who really are bypassing the system and process the city has in place and gathering the required permits when they're needed. Other fees have not changed and are in general, a lot of the fees here are based off the valuation of construction costs as set by the building valuation data and square foot construction cost, which is identified in the Building Safety Journal. And I believe those details are attached here as well for that. And then you have your fees there laid out in that next page.
And those are all the same on plumbing permit fees and mechanical permit fees and...
I apologize, I probably should have prefaced from the start. One thing you'll notice this year is the city is has made an effort to list all rates and fees charged by each department, so it's known out there, and there's no contention or discussion at a later date or time. So we're listing everything here. As I go through, you'll see the full rate table. For example, here on page 57 for planning and building, that's all rates, which includes whether they change or do not change. What I just highlighted were the 4 fees that the 2 of which went down, 1 went up, and 1 is a brand-new fee. So I'm just highlighting those changes. Everything else is the same from prior year.
All right, council, are there any questions about this?
I think, what was the fence permit fee prior to it being $75? Do we know that?
It was $40 prior.
$40, and now it's the same as an RV home setup inspection fee? In a mobile home park? We charge the same thing, so I put up a little 3-foot lattice fence, I'm getting charged for the same rate for someone to set up an actual home?
Like I mentioned, I will do my best to answer your questions.
Yeah,
so based
I
off of
know.
what I'm reading, I would say yes.
It just struck me as a little steep for a...
As I read on, what I'm gathering is it's not necessarily based off of your effort, it's based off of the city's effort. And the city, what it looks like is these permits would require multiple inspections. So it's about our effort to go out and validate and do what we need to do on the inspection front. Other than that,
for fences. Yeah.
for roof, fence, siding, residential deck, and the other items listed there, yes.
It's too bad Phil's not here.
When I built my fence in the front yard, the engineer came out and looked at it to make sure I had my site triangles. The building inspector came out to look at it to see if it was on my property lines. There was quite the...
Oh, I know, I built a fence.
Yeah.
I know what it takes and a deck. Yeah, that's not in question. I totally understand what it takes to come out and actually do check things out. I just think that charging the same for putting up a home and putting up a fence seems a little exorbitant. Or siding, or a roof for that matter.
Yeah, the other, what I would just, in support of the planning and building team is, based off of what is here, the costs are associated and based off of written and known building valuation data, right? Like from the Building Safety Journal. So they're using, the impression I get is it's not just pulling permits, costs and fees out of the air. It's based off of published information. And again, I apologize if I sound repetitive.
No, that's okay. I appreciate it.
I believe it's more about our effort, the inspection. So whether you're going out for a roof, a fence, or an RV home setup, we are going out multiple times, and it's just to cover those expenses. Personally, I don't know if a home setup of an RV is more extensive of an inspection than a roof, right? It's a permit-based inspection. It could be, if we really wanted, you could potentially even go to an hourly inspection rate, which I doubt would, your cost would probably go up. And I believe what they're trying to do is base it off of prescribed data and information from the Building Safety Journal.
Okay.
That's me reading here. So I hope I have not mischaracterized.
No, I appreciate your help, and thank you.
Any other questions? All right, may I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to consider approving resolution number 27, series 2019, approving fees and charges for planning and building department services and materials provided by City of Cortez.
Second.
Carlson?
Aye.
Betts? Keel?
Nay.
Noyes?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Sheik? Oh, Lucero, I'm sorry. Lucero?
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
Nay.
Sheik?
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, we're going to take just a really brief recess. So if anybody on the dais needs to run real quick, we'll adjourn and then...
We're ready, keep on rolling.
I'm going to jack it back on for a second. I shall keep on so quick. Did you like to pause? I'm going to watch it back later on YouTube. Sorry.
Linda, bring me another bowl of chili. Bring me another bowl of chili.
Huh? They're back there. You can have one. I promise there's enough left for you to have another bowl.
I'm not sure I follow Jill's instructions, but that's where I was. What I was trying to get with him is we had 2 or 3 experts in telecommunications law look at these contracts, go over these contracts. Now we're going to get I don't know who wrote this one.
So when I see these guys chase it,
That's kind of what my understanding is. So I think my dad, and they never bitched. Now they want to renegotiate the contract.
They're the only ones that have made me think. The others said, that's great.
Like I say, I don't think it's illegal unless they can send me a specific statute, because I don't know that we need the personal information. It's like, we don't need to know franchise fees for Empire, but from customers, you know, I don't. So I'm not following his question.
No, it's fine, I'm sorry. No. There's like 1-2 minutes until. But that's the, okay.
we don't deserve to have it.
Thank you.
Okay, can I call everybody back up to the dais?
All right, let's do this.
Let's rush through this last part.
I was checking out Rick's blood pressure. I wanted to make sure he's okay. Are you okay?
All righty, we are now moving on to resolution number 28, series 2019, establishing the refuse collection rates for the city of Cortez. Ben.
Yep, so here we are on the refuse. The proposal is a 5% increase, and you'll see there are the fees there on the next page. Those fees that represent that 5% increase.
Question, anybody?
No.
So I'll just clarify a moment here as well. Increases, because of increases at the landfill, additional fuel costs and equipment costs, and then that volatility in recycling market is part of the reason why for those increases.
Anyone? May I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 28, series 2019, establishing refuse collection rates for the city of Cortez.
I second that.
Noyes?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Lucero?
Nay.
Betts? Aye. Sheik?
Aye. Resolution number WE-2019-2, Series 2019, is the water rates and water development charges under the water enterprise. Ben?
Yep, so here we are. The water rate increases are requesting approximately about 5%, and you'll see those are reflected in all of the rates on the next couple of pages there. They are reflected there. There's a little more detail in your memo there, which kind of gives you examples of the increases. For example, tap fees are proposed to increase from $5,500 to $5,800 for a 3/4 water tap, and then a proportionate increase on the other for larger taps. Part of the reasoning for increasing of the 5% is to, building some capital reserves for the water enterprise so as to meet those future demands of the water system that are coming. So we do have some aging pipes in the mix.
I know that was one thing council was really concerned about, was infrastructure.
Right.
Part of it.
Yeah. And also being a water-wise city, I think paying a little bit more maybe will make people a little bit more conscientious about how they use their water.
Any other questions, comments, council? May I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve Water Enterprise Resolution Number WE 2019-2, Series 2019, establishing the water rate charges and water development charges for the City of Cortez Water Enterprise to be effective January 1st, 2020.
Second.
Betts? Lucero?
Nay.
Keel?
Aye.
Noyes?
Nay.
Levy?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. Resolution number 32, Series 2019, approving fees and charges for the Cortez Library.
So here we are, we have the resolution before us and your list of fees for the library. I'm not sure if you've ever seen them before, but here they all are in one spot. There is no changes proposed.
Any questions, council? May I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion we approve resolution number 32, Series 2019, improving the fees and charges for the Cortez Library of the City of Cortez.
Second.
Levy?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Lucero?
Nay.
Betts? Noyes?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. Resolution number 30, Series 2019, is approving the fees and charges for the Cortez Parks and Recreation Facilities. Ben?
Yep, so here we are with the Parks and Rec. There are, you have all the fees listed here as well. There are some changes as you go through. In discussions with Parks and Rec, a lot of the changes have to do with being competitive. It's more being competitive with other organizations that are having similar rates. There are some fee increases here. Some of those fee increases are the first time in years where we have not increased, so it's just getting back up to what really what's market dictates. However, working with Dean he's also not being aggressive or trying to be above market. He's probably actually a little below, like maybe if you went to Durango or Montrose, for example. But it's more in line with standard rates. And again, it's been a substantial time. I think he's told me it's about 3 to 5 years since they've actually increased rates. So that's where you'll see some of those rates here. As we talked about as well, is they're trying to recover some of the costs for the programs and services they provide. As we discussed back in the budget workshops, the Parks and Rec Department, one of their main challenges is the increasing labor costs due to wages, hourly, specifically the hourly wage. So this does not necessarily recoup all those costs, but it helps us, just recoup a little bit more so they're more sustainable. And you have your fees laid out there in front of you and the variances as such. They marked them out where they're new and different, so you can clearly see where the differences are.
Are there any questions, council? May I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 30, Series 2019, improving the fees and charges for the Cortez Parks and Recreation facilities, programs, and services offered by the city of Cortez.
I second that.
Keel.
Aye.
Betts. Levy.
Aye.
Noyes.
Nay.
Lucero.
Nay.
Carlson.
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. Resolution number 31, Series 2019, is establishing the fees and charges for the city clerk. Ben?
So we are fortunate, if you do have any questions, our city clerk is here. But in general, again, I think it might be a first time where you see all the fees associated that the city clerk is responsible for and sets. I believe there are no changes for the office, city clerk, and some of the fees, if I understood correctly, are actually set by the state.
Okay, are there any questions about that? May I have a motion?
I make the motion that we consider approving resolution number 31, series 2019, establishing fees and charges for the city clerk.
Second.
Noyes.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Lucero.
Nay.
Keel.
Aye.
Betts. Sheik.
Aye. Resolution number 34, Series 2019, approving fees and charges for the community network enterprise programs and services offered by the city. Ben?
So here are the fees detailed, and more. I know there was a vigorous discussion earlier around the fees and the budget of the CCN. Here's those specific fees and how they're laid out. If you didn't notice them before, you'll notice there are several sections where there are no changes in the fees or the structures of those. Then you'll notice there are some changes. For example, we're in the wholesale service provider. The fees did change from a tiered model to a monthly flat fee. There is some other slight increases as you see throughout there. And again, the whole goal here with the fee structure, the changes, the new fees is to put the CCN as an enterprise, as a business in a self-sustaining operational manner.
Any questions, council?
Don't have any.
May I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion approving resolution number 34, Series 2019, approving the fees and charges for the Cortez Community Network Enterprise programs and services offered by the city of Cortez.
Second.
Levy.
Aye.
Betts. Noyes.
Aye.
Keel.
Nay.
Lucero.
Nay.
Carlson.
Aye.
Sheik.
Aye. Resolution number 35, Series 2019, establishing fees for services at the police department. Ben?
And here we are with all the fees associated with the police department. And the police department is not proposing any changes. Everything is flat.
No changes.
No changes.
All right, there are no changes to this. May I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve resolution number 2019, establishing fees for services and reproduction of information for the city of Cortez Police Department.
Second.
Keel.
Aye.
Levy.
Aye.
Lucero.
Nay.
Noyes.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Betts. Sheik.
Aye. Resolution number 36, Series 2019, approving fees for the Cortez Electric Vehicle Charging Station.
Yep, so here we are with the EV station. The hourly fee is set to be at $1 per hour. The parking for the station is free for the first 4 hours, and the parking fee is applicable after that 4-hour period set at $5 per hour. And this is new once we get the EV station put in.
Parking in front of stations are free for the first 4-hour period. Parking fee applicable after the 4-hour period. So you're charging for 4 hours, you don't have to pay if you're continue charging, it's $5 an hour. Am I reading that correctly?
Do you want to answer that for us?
Is that to get those cars out of there so that the next car can come in and use that spot? It's the incentive to get you to move your car.
So $1 an hour, you're charging them, and they can sit there for 4 hours free, that's $4. And then if they're not charged, they give you $10, they can sit there another 2 hours, so that's 6 hours, correct?
I don't know about that math exactly.
So I'm charging my electric car for 4 hours, and I can sit there for free. I give you the $4 in charging fees,
Yeah.
and I throw you another 10, I can still take up that spot for 6 hours at a pretty minimal cost.
So it's $5 an hour afterwards, so I guess another 2 hours, like you said.
Right.
if you-
So $10 plus the 4, I'm $14 into it for a quarter of a day.
So this is for cars that are not charging, right?
Yeah, that I've already used up their 4-hour period. 'cause
If I
usually,
park my diesel pickup in that spot, I can park there for 4 hours for free.
Do you have to be charging during those 4 hours?
yeah, we'll have signage that requires it to be for EV charging stations.
with you. I'm
And
confused on myself.
there is the option, excuse me, there is an option to charge a fine. We kind of elected to not do that this year for if a diesel or a non-EV were to park in front of the charging station, just to kind of see if people would respect signage. If we feel like that's being abused, we can always apply a fee in the future. But for right now, it's first 4 hours free and then $5 an hour afterwards. But of course, that can be changed if you don't
Councilman
think
Keel, I
that's...
believe your math was correct.
Yeah.
Not that you needed validation, sir.
I know. I just,
Good job.
well, we had a few discussions. I thought we were going to try to charge a little bit more than $1 an hour.
Does that $1 an hour cover our costs?
It does cover the cost,
But-
yeah. I went back and looked, and it was $3.52 for a 4-hour charge, based off of math I worked out with Flint Bar Electric. So it covers the costs. You have Mancus that charges $1.50. I think Aztec charges $1.25. So if anything could get us competitive, maybe people would maybe elect to charge here versus elsewhere. But
Okay.
if council's not happy with the charge, we can always change it.
I don't remember whenever we had that group come and present, I'd ask questions about what an average charge was. Do you remember what the amount was that they had quote? I just don't recall.
Well, ChargePoint came in for the fast charging stations. I think those typically are more, but it's for less time, and the cost probably works out comparably.
So I mean, is the $1 an hour pretty comparable to what we're seeing in other locations?
So I went on to, I think it's PlugShare. It's a website where you can go and see what they charge for stations. And a lot of places honestly have it for free. There were a few that did charge, and it spans from $1 to $2, the groups that did charge.
So $2 is the max?
I didn't see a lot of $2, and with the grant application, they do want us to keep the prices low. so
Yeah,
we
no,
encourage people to
I'm
use it.
just asking, that was the maximum that you saw, probably?
I think that was the max in just a basic Google search.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So the idea of setting this at $1 initially is just to kind of, we're covering our costs plus a little tiny bit more, but we're hoping to encourage members of the community or people hopefully from out of the community to go ahead and stop when they're at our welcome center or coming through town to stop and get their battery recharged here as opposed to going to Durango to do it. And in order to dissuade people from simply parking in front of the charging units, there's a pretty steep parking fee. I don't even know that Durango charges $5 an hour.
Mancus charges $5 an hour. That's where we modeled it off of.
Okay.
They're not getting 4 hours free charging, it's $1 an hour.
They have to pay.
And they can park there for 4 hours free.
Any car that go 4 hours for free.
No, they have to be charging their car. If they're not charging their car, then we can fine them $5 an hour.
I guess what I'm reading this is parking in front of the stations are free for the first 4-hour period.
Well, is that because they're charging their vehicle?
Yeah.
That's because they're, maybe this isn't written very clearly.
I think if I may, just for clarification, before I heard Councilman Noyes ask about parking your truck there, what I understand the conversation is, technically, yes, you could park your truck there for the first 4 hours for free. After that, you would be charged the $5 per hour. The take currently by the city is more of a carrot, right, or a gentle approach to it, where signage to request that you and your diesel do not park there. If it becomes, clarify if I get this incorrect, if it is an issue later, then at that point, fines could be suggested and recommended and implemented if need be to prevent blockading of the EV station for EV vehicles.
And my understanding was if you weren't an electric vehicle, which is how I understand it to be in Durango, and you pull into that parking place, it's a flat, some sort of parking violation with a fine. It's not by the hour, it's like a parking ticket. And so we need to clear that up, because if the police department's got to go enforce this, I don't know why a non-electric vehicle would be allowed to park in a charging station parking place. That's just my simple approach. So I think we do need to clear up the language, however you want to do it.
Does council want to add a fine in there?
Can we table this until you get the language cleaned up on this so that we know exactly what it is? It's my understanding, and obviously I'm incorrect in this, I don't think we want people just parking their cars in that charging station and not using it. Now, I can see where they may get tied up downtown and leave it longer than it's taking to charge, but to have Gary park his diesel there, I think there should be a penalty for that, because then it prevents somebody who has an electric car from pulling in and getting a charge, which is not, that doesn't benefit anybody.
Would be similar to parking in a handicap zone.
If you're unhandicapped.
If you didn't have a sticker. So there'd be a fine if you parked your non-electric vehicle in that spot.
Yeah, my concern is with all this verbiage or whatever, I agree with everybody there, but who's going to patrol it?
Well, the parking fee would be through the software, the hourly charge and the parking fee. The fine, I would assume, would have to be with our police department. They'd be the ones having to drive by to see if cars or not, because the system can't just sense if it's a EV in front of it or not.
We have somebody that monitors parking, do we not, Andy, on staff? I mean, that's her job, right? Okay. So I'm assuming that will her job be extended to monitoring the, okay.
Well, at least it's an easy location.
Say that again?
Just an easy location. She knows right where to go for that one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Do we need to table this until we get the language clarified some, Mike?
It looks like, yes.
I would like to ask you to table this, because I think we're going to need to put something in the parking ordinance that says a non-electric car and an electric car stall is whatever the parking fine is, and then we can clear up the resolution. But I really don't think we should allow non-electric vehicles to park in an electric vehicle charging station.
Quick question, Mr. Green. Is the parking statute, or does the parking onus go into the City of Cortez police fees, or no?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, ma'am.
Sorry, so we just approved the fees and services for the City of Cortez Police Department. Would that go back to that?
No, it would go to the municipal court fines, municipal
perfect.
court.
Okay.
And the judge sets those fines.
So then my next question is, we are supposed to be approving municipal court next. Do we need to table that as well?
No, because that does not include any fines, was what I understood Ms. Odell was submitting. It was just fees.
Okay.
Can I get fined for parking my vehicle in a public parking spot, regardless of what it's for?
If it's signed properly, that would be like the example given for handicap parking, it's a
Right,
public parking
But
spot.
that's ADA stuff. Like, this is just a regular parking spot.
If you park for more than 2 hours, you can get a ticket. If you park too close to a stop sign, too close to an intersection, too close to a driveway, there's variations.
All right.
All right, so I need a motion to table this then, correct, Mike?
Please, and
All
then we
right.
can reset it for the next meeting.
Okay, which will be December the, what, 10th? Can I have a motion?
24th.
No, yeah, well, you may be here the 24th. Is it the 10th, Linda? Is it December the 10th?
We would need a motion to table it, yes, till
Until
December 10th.
December the 10th?
All right.
Yes.
Okay. May I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to table the approving resolution number 30, I'm sorry, approving resolution number 36, series 2019, approving the fees for the Cortez electric vehicle charging station
Until December 10th?
until December 10th.
Second.
Lucero?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Betts? Noyes?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Sheik?
Aye. And oh my gosh, finally, resolution number 37, approving, 2019, approving fees for municipal court.
Yeah, didn't know if you're aware, but we have some court fees, and they are now listed in front of you in detail, and there are no changes from prior year.
Okay. Council, are there any questions about the municipal court fees?
Nope.
Do we still give a portion of tickets to the shelter as well?
It's my understanding that was set as a surcharge by ordinance, if I remember correctly, and so there's $10 to the shelter and $5 to Dare?
Yes, that's what's here.
And so those are like when you go to county court and the surcharge is outdistance the fine, but these
So
are
it's
the
about
only
the same
two.
as we charge them to be.
And then the balance of the $32 goes to court costs.
Any questions, council?
I have none.
May I have a motion, please?
Honorable Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 37, series 2019, approving the fees for municipal court for the city of Cortez.
Second.
Noyes?
Aye.
Keel?
Aye.
Betts? Levy?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Lucero?
Nay.
Sheik?
Aye. We have no draft resolutions or ordinance, no other items of business. I don't see any citizens that might want to address council unless Andy, Rick, or Peyton would like to be private citizens.
Oh, Rick.
There is no city attorney's report. John?
Alls I have is happy Thanksgiving to everybody. If you're traveling, Godspeed and safe travels.
Thank you.
All right. Council committee reports. Has anybody been to a meeting?
Yes, see, I attended the Cortez Cultural Center meeting. We discussed several of the programs that have gone by in the past. The Teen Maze was very well attended on November 13th. And upcoming on December 7th, it's going to have Festival on the Plaza, and that's going to be just before the Parade of Lights. So people are invited to attend the Festival on the Plaza and then attend the Festival of Lights afterwards. On December 28th, there's going to be the Christmas bird count, which is always popular around here. The Montezuma's Revenge, at least 50 people attended, and we profited over $100.
No medical bills?
Great.
No medical bills.
I went to a Mesa Verde Country meeting last Wednesday, I believe it was. I apologize because I left my notes at home, and since we are running so late, I'm sure nobody's going to mind if I wait until next meeting to talk about that. Any other committee meetings anybody's attended?
Yes, I attended the Cortez Rec Center Advisory Board meeting. We discussed the status of the South Neighborhood Park Project, and we discussed naming the city park Veterans Park. That's going to come up for consideration. We just discussed the names for the new park. 294 different names were, or 294 votes were entered, and we haven't decided which will be the name yet. But it's.
You're not going by the votes?
When does the voting close on that?
Wait, aren't you going with the majority?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll go with the majority.
Oh, okay.
I thought I already had a name.
I was getting a little conspiracy theory.
Do you remember when
there for a second?
Do you remember the closing for that? The end of the, if you guys haven't had a chance to vote, you can go online to what?
It's SurveyMonkey. SurveyMonkey?
Well, can you get to it from the city's website? Okay. So if you want to vote for a name.
Okay.
All right. Is that- okay. All right. The workshop, we had a discussion on things that we might do to honor Chief Roy Lane. Well, he's still here to know that he was given that honor. We had council update from the finance department regarding a number of issues that they're dealing with at this time. We had a request for a letter of support for designation of International Night Sky Park for Mesa Verde National Park, and the consensus was that we'd like for staff to draft a letter of support for us to consider at the December 10th meeting, and then we adjourned to executive session to discuss a personnel matter. Is there anything else for the good of the cause?
Yes.
Yes.
If you guys do not have anything going on tomorrow night, we're having Cortez's first drunken spelling bee at Blondie's. It's at 9 p.m. and it's for adults only. You do not have to drink. It is a legitimate adult spelling bee. There is alcohol involved if you wish to partake, but you're not required to. It's free to watch. However, if you want to enter, it's $5 a person with rebuys like poker, and the winner takes all of the cash. When we did the last one, the winner took home $120 in cash.
I remember.
He did. He actually didn't drink.
So brush up on your spelling.
Yep, so that's tomorrow night at Blondie's, so if any of you are interested, we specifically booked it at 9 so that there was no kids in there, so please feel free to attend.
Thanks. I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, one last thing.
If you're leaving.
Last Thursday at Silver Sneakers program, there's an annual pie judging contest for Thanksgiving, and several members of the council and staff attended, and we judged the pies. There's about over 20 different pies. We had to sample and taste. It's a terrible job, but somebody had to do it. And we picked 3 winners. John was there, and Karen, myself, and Dan Jones helped sample the pies, and the participants of the Silver Sneakers recreation group got to sample their wares. After they burned up all those calories, they got added some more. So it was a lot of fun.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to invite our council, I guess. I never got an invitation.
I thought invitation was sent out. I thought
No.
Raina sent an invitation out.
Because I usually like to eat pie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you would.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. Meeting adjourned. Oh, here, bye. Do you want this?
No.
Oh.
Very broken.
No stress, we got it.
You got spares?
We got it spared.
Look at me.
I'll call you next pie contest.